I think that coming from African immigrants, being born in the States, gives you a unique point of view. I always cringe when I use the word give back. I really want to be a part of that new flow of tourism, but also in a more intentional way. So the kind of content I want to create is travel content.
Whoa! What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hotagua. I'm a Sierra Leonean-American in West Africa. I have another episode of Authentic African Content Creators, and I'm here with MARIAM.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this. MARIAM is a Sierra Leonean, and we were supposed to meet up in Sierra Leone. I didn't see my messages till like 2 months later. I was super late. You had already left by the time I think I responded. But we're meeting up here in New York. So we are in New York City right now. We're in Little Italy in a very nice apartment, which you guys will get a chance to see a little bit of. And so I wanted to interview you about your experience going back to Sierra Leone, what you're doing in Sierra Leone, and for those out there who might be thinking about moving, what that experience might be like, or even visiting or building. So first things first, what tribe are you from?
I'm from the Fulani tribe. It's known that we're not native to Sierra Leone. You migrated from Guinea, very much a part of the Sierra Leonean cultural ecosystem.
Yep.
But I am actually a American military brat.
Okay.
So I was born in Texas. I moved all up and down the East Coast.
What was your first introduction to going to Sierra Leone?
My first time in Sierra Leone, I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
So I went twice before I was the age 18.
Okay.
So it was very different, right? You're a kid.
Yeah.
So, I'm really understanding some of the issues and stuff that you're seeing.
Sure.
But it was fun, huge family. So it was with my cousins and stuff. Yeah, it was just exciting to see the place where your family is from.
I would tell you that was something that was huge for me. I was much older by the time I was 25. But all the stories you hear, right? Washing clothes in the river, et cetera, and then you see it, because I wouldn't believe my parents when they would talk about how rough it was or how hard it was.
Studying with the kerosene.
Yes, exactly. Until you get there, there's no light, right? So you went for the first time in the 6th grade. How often were you going back between then and now as an adult, you get to go under your own accord? But how often were you going back as you were growing up?
So I've only been 3 times with family.
Okay.
This last time, I was just there a few months ago. It was the first time I go on my own accord.
Okay.
Which, completely different vibes.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and we talked briefly about this, and I think it's really interesting. So what are you doing in Sierra Leone right now?
So right now, I am building a hotel. So I'm in the very beginning stages of it. I go back to Sierra Leone next month. I'm not leaving until I secure land with my name on it.
And what's the name of the hotel going to be?
The AC2, which is named after my mother.
Nice. So you're going to be building a hotel in Sierra Leone. What made you decide that you wanted to go back to Sierra Leone and start a business? Was there one moment? Was it many things? What kind of brought you to that point?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked it in that way, because it was many things.
Sure.
I've always known that I wanted to come back, and I always cringe when I use the word give back. So to invest in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
And so a few things that kind of sparked it. I worked in the hospitality industry for 11 plus years. And it was kind of, the 2020, that thing that happened, pandemic.
Sure.
And there's frustrations, and a lot of Black Americans were getting their blood work done, going to West Africa. And I was like, I really want to be a part of that new flow of tourism.
Yeah.
But also in a more intentional way.
Yeah.
Actually, something that happens, I was at the Four Seasons in Miami with my partner, and within 30 minutes, he's Latin, within 30 minutes, we both got mistaken for staff. And so I was like, it doesn't matter where you are, right? What your level of the success is.
Right.
It's very hard for people of color, specifically Black people, to find a place that you can actually luxury in. And you would think that ends like once you get to Africa, but it's not the case, right? Right. As we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to build.
Yes, it's a place that Black people can luxuriate in peace. I think that coming from African immigrants, being born in the States, gives you a unique point of view from being African and American.
Agreed.
So I think that that point of view gives me an upper hand in being able to curate an experience that I think both parties would enjoy and benefit from.
I like that. Yeah, and I think we need more of it. This is part of the reason why I started this channel, right? Is to try to give other people an idea of what people are currently doing, right? For me, I started going to Sierra Leone on my own in 2017, and so I was going twice a year, and I had friends living there, and getting to see how they live their lives. Some had kids, they had careers, they had fun with other than get together for happy hours. And I was like, it was the lifestyle that I was living in the States, but it was transported, or it was basically just happening in my home country and with my own people.
Right.
And it was like people who are on the same accord. The cool thing about what we're all doing is you're curating the people you spend time with who all think the way you do, right? I had a hard time with that living in the States. And I think when you're on the continent, that's who you run into, especially in Sierra Leone, because most of the businesses are mission driven or like nonprofits or NGOs. And so you meet a lot of people who are on that same accord. So it'll be great to introduce you to all the people there, because it's a really cool group of people. And we're all trying to make sure that those who come to Sierra Leone have a softer landing.
Yeah.
Because I do want to make sure that it's clear, and I always mention it, it's not the smoothest of processes.
You gotta manage expectations.
Yes.
Sure.
You have to manage expectations, and I think it is important to know that. But like, if you are Sierra Leonean, it is good to go back home, and it really is on us. It's incumbent on us to make it a smoother process for other people. And it's much smoother now than it was right after the war.
Yeah.
And it's only getting better, right?
For sure.
Okay, so anyway, you went for the first time. What was that experience like for the first time on your own and not with your family?
Okay, so yeah, it was fantastic because when you go with your family, right, you're going to see the 15 million other family members. Going alone, I got to experience the country, and even my grandchildren, like, you will enjoy Salon Pas Me, like, where you got to experience more than I've ever been able to experience. So I got to experience what tourists experience, and if you're privileged enough to be able to pay for these certain stays and experiences, which is really important to me to see it through that eye. It was beautiful, like, and fantastic to just be able to, like, have a beer with my fellow Sierra Leone brother, like, sister, and just, like, carve your own space in the country that, you know, your people are from.
Yeah, and I think for me, I can echo that sentiment, right? Like, you have experiences all around the world. You were talking about traveling a lot. I've traveled. I've been around in a bunch of different places, and there really is no place like home, right? To be able to have that same experience you've had elsewhere, but have it at home and have it with your people, I think is amazing. And it's also cool to no longer be a minority, you know, to be somewhere where you're not a minority. And when you hear the language spoken in your parents' house,
right?
If you hear it, the way I describe it is, if you only hear this in your parents' house, and then when you get off at the airport, you hear it everywhere, it feels like you're at home, right? Because it's a familiar sound and a language that you only hear in very small amounts and in certain places. And so when you get to a country where they're speaking it, it's a very different thing. So I definitely recommend it. All Sierra Leoneans in the diaspora who are in touch with your family and your roots, definitely go to Sierra Leone and experience it. It's like nothing else.
Yeah.
So you went for the first time, you had a great experience, you're working on building this hotel.
I want to add another point.
Yes, please.
As to why, also, as I see it, and like, of course, there is the personal aspects of me being Sierra Leone, but I see such a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah.
And Sierra Leone, I mean, and West Africa in general has just been like blowing up in the mainstream. I was at Art Basel last year. Half the art was West African art, which is fantastic. On the radio is, you know, Afro beats. So I see an opportunity in Sierra Leone specifically because it's a place that hasn't had tourism for a few decades, right?
Yep.
Because Civil War. and the stigma of the Civil War. And then there was Ebola, then there was COVID. So there's an opportunity to do tourism in that country, but do it responsibly. I moved over to Hawaii during the pandemic, and you can see that the locals are very frustrated with tourism and on their land, where it's a love-to-hate relationship because they need it for the income coming in, sure, but it's destroying their culture and their land. So I think that I would love to influence the industry in that country to be more responsible and more for the people.
I like it. Socially responsible capitalism is important.
Right.
I'm a capitalist, but I'm also social programs. I'm a super lefty liberal. So I love that, social responsible capitalism. I like it. Okay, cool. So you mentioned what some of the locals in Hawaii feel. And I've seen this in Ghana where, gentrification is happening. In your experience, right, when you went to Sierra Leone, where did you see some of the biggest challenges as a person coming in there planning to start a business? Like, have you started to experience some of this yet? And what have you seen there?
Yeah, it's like every step has like 10 other challenges with it. But yeah, actually, when I was there, I had a negotiation with a landowner.
Okay.
And I can't even make this up. We met him at a pool. The gate was painted in rainbow. The pool tiles had like jumping dolphins and stars. It was like he watched like Narcos.
Okay.
Like, I want to recreate that. He had a white beater on. His name was Muhammad, but he had a big cross chain arm. So there were red flags from the gang. Anyways, yes, that was something that was a story now I can tell. I, of course, know how to do business.
Yeah. So I think you have the eyes and ears open when you go. I think that's super important. But I think there's also the idea of, because of that, there's the other side of it where you can do things a little bit faster if you know the right people, right? There isn't as much red tape in certain areas that there might be in other places, right?
Totally.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. There's a little bit of what can come along with it in the sense of what could be negative, but then also there are positive elements. Okay, so I think we've kind of covered most of what we wanted to talk about today, but I guess where I want to go next is you have a YouTube channel that you're going to be starting.
Yeah.
And you have different types of content that you want to shoot. I want to let you talk about it, but what content will you be creating? But also, what do you want your viewers to get from your content?
So the kind of content I want to create is travel content, not just in Sierra Leone, but in, multiple different countries. Sure. And I want people to I kind of just want to bring the people along with me on the journey. Because when I am traveling to these countries, of course I'm enjoying, but it's also market research for me, right? So I'm looking at certain things, certain hotels, how this service was, how they run this. So I would like for the audience to see that also through my lens and just kind of be on this journey with me.
So travel and the process of building the hotel in Sierra Leone. Yes. It should be an interesting process.
Yeah.
It should be an interesting process. Building in Sierra Leone is interesting, and we're going to spend some time talking about that. But I think it'll be fun for everyone to be able to follow along with you on that journey. And I think for everyone out there watching, right, I think what you said about how people in Hawaii feel, Sierra Leoneans do have a lot of that same sentiment. And I think a lot of that but unfortunately, nobody cares that they feel that way, right? And for the same reasons that you mentioned. And the most of the people who own those bigger businesses are not Sierra Leone, right?
That's also a very big part. I actually started to get laughed out of every relatively nice establishment that I was going to, and I would ask Salonman owns this. They're like, why would you even assume that it would be someone from this country owning this establishment? Yeah. So that's a big thing. And I've heard horror stories from some places that are supposed to be the best, highest end resorts in Sierra Leone, where I've had the servers come up to me and tell me that they worked for months and months and they weren't paid, and that they were only, when they did pay them, now they're paying them $50 a month, which the minimum wage for Sierra Leone is already low. It's like paying around like $70 to $80 a month. How are you going to go lower than $70 or $80 a month? So I want to be for the people, and I think like when I was looking for land, like I was on Banana Islands, and one of the land managers said to me, it's like, this guy's great. He's Russian or he's Lebanese, of course, big Lebanese population, or Chinese. And he's like, at the end of the day, like the foreigner is a foreigner. Right. They're not going to treat us the same way. They're not going to have the same values. So for me, it's like there's so many stories of hotels or stuff that get mismanaged. For me, it's like there's one, the finances and putting in it, so I don't want to fail. It's also like my people are counting on me. Like my values for this isn't just monetary.
Right. I love that. Yeah, having a purpose bigger than just money, I think, is what allows anyone that may be able to build a business and to stick through it, because it's going to be challenging.
Oh yeah, hospitality is, people, we like joke that we all have like a big mental illness to like love and be in the hospitality industry, but I love it and I'm excited to start this project.
Well, I'm looking forward to following your journey. I think it's going to be really cool. And I'm always excited to hear about other Sierra Leoneans moving back. We had this issue with the brain drain, right? Where some of our brightest minds left the country and never came back.
Yeah. So
it's great to see people who are young, who have energy, who are coming back to build the next phase of where Sierra Leone is going to be. I'm excited to watch your journey. Yeah. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you want to tell the people?
Yes. So I want to let the people know is a lot of people are traveling to West Africa, and the two biggest countries that a lot of people go to are Ghana and Nigeria. Fantastic countries. I urge you, there are direct flights from Ghana to Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Is to check out no matter where you're from, just check out Sierra Leone, because the vibe is completely different than both countries. And it's very special, and it's beautiful. The beaches are amazing. It's great. So that's one thing I would say is don't let the stigma of the war that's been over deter you from checking out Sierra Leone for like a few days.
Nice. I love that. Okay, cool. And where can people find you online?
Yes. So you can find me. My Instagram is Bobbers. So it's at BAHBERS. And you can also find, I'll be posting more specifically about the hotel at the AC2. And you can find me at the AC2.com, and the YouTube will be called the AC2.
Nice. Cool. So that'll all be in the description below. So if you didn't catch it all, just look in the description and it's all going to be there. Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you, MARIAM, for doing this. I love having these kinds of conversations, and I'm hoping that you guys all who are watching are gaining something from this discussion. Make sure to follow MARIAM's on all of her social media channels and follow her as she builds this hotel and travels around the world. So with that, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends. Anybody who's thinking about visiting Sierra Leone, thinking about building a business, make sure you share this with them. Until next time, thanks for watching. See you all in the next video. All right, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like, comment, and share it with your friends. All right, see you on the next video.